Hello, tank tops and sweaters. Welcome back to the Kelly and Yvette show. We are here with you. Yvette, me, I am in the snow, freezing my tushy off, and Kelly is over there sweating it out in Florida.
The only reason I have a sweatshirt on is because the AC is so cold in that house.
It is crazy, crazy weather out there, but we hope you're all nice and cozy and safe in your homes or wherever. But we are here today to talk more about heart health. If you followed our last conversation that we had on our YouTube channel, it was all about the physical side of heart health and what we could do to take care of our bodies and make sure that heart health is top priority for us and keeping us all going. So today we're going to tap into more of the emotional side of that, because that again is just as important as the physical side. I really feel like your heart is the center of you, not in just a physical way, but such an emotional way. We tend to, well, I hope you tend to lead with your heart, that you think with your heart. And that's a really deep connotation of saying that, you have empathy and compassion and kindness, and that you are willing to open that up and be vulnerable to share with others. I will start with an emotional story, an experience I had when I was just a teenager. I suffered from a condition called Wolff-Parkinson's White, and it was an electrical dysfunction of my heart that I had no idea I had. I was an avid dancer. Dance was my life at the moment. And right in the middle of it, my heart went into this dysfunction, and it caused me to have a tachycardia, which is like a heart attack, where your heart just starts beating out of your chest uncontrollably. I couldn't breathe. I started to lose consciousness. So yeah, that was a really fun experience. It was terrifying. Not just for myself, but for my family as well. A lot of emotions involved there of just not knowing, not having control, not understanding why this is happening. For a year, they did tests because doctors couldn't figure out what was going on. I was a healthy individual. Otherwise, at the beginning, they kind of fluffed me off as just a teenage girl who, probably didn't eat right, didn't drink enough water, wasn't taking care of myself. And then it just kept repeating and repeating. So one attack ended up being many, many attacks. I remember being at a assembly for school in high school, and we were dancing, and right at the end of the dance I hit the floor and kind of crawled off to the side, and that's when they said, you can't dance anymore, we have to take care of this, something has to be done. I was devastated, absolutely devastated. Dance again was my life, and dance helped me with my emotions. It was my form of therapy. And so when that was taken away, when that had to stop, and we didn't know why, it was just this fog of confusion and chaos. It was hard. It was really, really hard. Luckily, I finally got to some specialists who figured out what was going on, and they gave me the choice of medicine or surgery, and I didn't even bat an eye. I was like, surgery, thank you. They're like, Joe, you want to think about this because you're 18? I'm like, nope, I don't.
Yes.
I want to do this now. So off to surgery I went. Again, big decision. Heart surgery is not like going in and getting your tonsils out or your wisdom teeth or whatever. It's a big thing, and I had to lean into my faith. I had to just say, okay, I'm in the hands of others and allow myself to just go through that process. Um, Surgery turned out to be great. But the other side of it, and I'll preface this with this, it was not open heart surgery. So they just went through my arteries with tubes and were able to um, take out my extra electrical pathway. So I had two instead of one with radio waves. So kind of cool. But the recovery part of that was very intense. I think sometimes doctors, when they look at the physical part, they say, "Oh, you're cured, you're done. Okay, you can go live life now." And they don't understand that no, that's not what happens. The recovery is just as hard as the diagnosis and the episodes that occurred before. I struggled deeply with recovery. My body had to learn how to function with a new heartbeat. My heart had to beat in a new pattern. Um, it would sometimes just thump into my chest, or I felt like sometimes I couldn't breathe, or I felt like, oh no, is it going to start, into an episode again? So I had that anxiety with me the whole
Mhm.
time, as well as am I ever going to be able to dance like I used to again? And I tried so hard. I wanted to so badly, but I couldn't. I just didn't have the capacity to do it as full out as I was before. So emotionally, that was really, really hard. Again, dance was my therapy. Dance was my um, outlet. It was what relieved a lot of my anxieties, a lot of my
Mhm.
frustrations. It made me the happiest. It really neutralized all that for me. And when that's taken away, it's so hard because it was such a journey in finding, how do I find those replacements? How do
Mhm.
I keep moving forward? How do I recover from that? Um, so it was a long journey. It was a very long journey of finding myself, and I still find it. I still feel like I'm growing. I still feel like I'm on this path because I don't feel like healing is ever an ending process. I feel
Right.
like we are on a continuous path of just keep moving forward. And that path has different turns, it has different roads, it has different ways of going. And it's just, are you willing to open yourself up to try those new opportunities or those new ways and let yourself go through the process? That has been really hard
I'm
because
sure.
I think as humans we want control of
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
And I think the one huge thing that this made me learn, this whole experience, especially having the episode in the heart surgery, was I have no control. And none.
Yeah.
I only have control over the decisions I make and how I accept things that are coming at me. And that is huge, especially for a young girl
Yeah, at
who,
18.
yeah, 18, and having to grow into that and accept that and be willing to say, I'm just going to go with it.
Yeah, and that's a really hard thing to do. I think especially at that age, but even at our age to realize like I have no control. I have whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I can control the decisions I make and how I react to it and how I treat people. But like the occurrences, the events that happen, really, we really don't have control over it.
We don't. And I think for me, what I wanted to take from it was to understand that I wasn't the only one who has gone through something like that, or I wasn't the only person in the world who struggled in finding their path or their outlet or whatnot. Like we all have these mountains to climb, these
Yeah.
hills to climb and journeys to take. And where we are at on those journeys and where we are at in those paths, like to have more empathy, to have more kindness, to open myself up a bit more
Mhm.
and allow myself to look at people in a different light.
And do you think when you let go of that control and are more open, that your actually emotional health that does affect your heart changes? It becomes better, healthier, you less stress when you just really
Yes,
accept that this is what I can control and this is what I can't control.
right,
Because I don't
right.
think we realize the damage emotions actually have on our physical body. We talked about all the
Mhm.
physical things, but our emotions can actually affect that, and our anxiety and depression and things like that. So finding a way to accept
Mhm.
and embrace, I think, what's happening, and find a way to, find the positive in it will
Yes,
actually help us, not just emotionally, but physically too.
yeah. Because when I was struggling so hard to recover after the surgery, I think the reason I was struggling so hard is because I was so stressed and so anxious as
Hmm.
to why they said I was fine. They said I could just be normal, that everything was good. Why am I feeling this way? Why am
Right.
I struggling? What is
Hmm.
wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? Why am I not doing this? It's all, you go down that rabbit hole of why,
Hmm.
instead of allowing myself to say, okay, obviously this is not working for me.
Right.
How can I how can I step outside this box and
Hmm.
look at it in a different way? How can I help myself have a different view, have a
Right.
different perspective? Where do I need to go from here? Because trying to push myself down this one path isn't working.
Right.
And I think sometimes that's where we get really stuck in those emotions
Oh, for sure.
and where we get really stressed out. And I think that, again, that affects your physical heart.
Yeah.
You're going to feel the stress. You're going to feel the aches, the pains, the chest pains, the
Hmm.
whatever you're feeling, because your emotions of stress, anxiety, and whatnot are taking over.
Right.
And so it's hard to get into that mindset to step outside your box and to say, okay, I need a different perspective. I need a different view. I need a different movement.
Right. And when we're stuck in that path that's not working, I think it is that one of the hardest steps is to say, okay, I'm going to stop and I'm going to take a step back. And I'm going to look at this from a different way. And I'm going to say, well, what about this? Or what about that? And
Mhm.
what is the, you know, best case scenario? Where do I want this to go? To look at it differently, like you said, to just take a step back, look at it differently. There's other options. But when we're stuck in that one path, it makes the stress, the anxiety, everything so much worse. And then it's like that hamster wheel that you're on, that now it affects your
Oh, yeah.
body again. And then we're back to it.
Yeah, it is. It is that hamster wheel. And I don't think we truly understand that direct connection of
Right.
emotions to our physical health and how they play with each other. Because, again, it was just an electrical malfunction of my heart, but it triggered all kinds of emotions.
Right. Oh, I'm
So
sure.
vice versa. Like it's trauma, it's traumatic.
Mhm. It is.
So the emotions are definitely going to come flooding through, but vice versa. When you are calm, when you are centered, when you are allowing yourself to just go through the process with an open mind, then your body, your heart is going to respond. It'll get into much more of a calmer rhythm. I like to call it the calmer rhythm.
Mhm.
instead of that stressful, anxious rhythm where your heart is just like feeling like it's going to come out of your chest. It's just beating as fast as
Mhm.
it can. Whereas if you were to take that moment, put your hand on your heart, take deep breaths, you're going to find like it starts to find
Yeah.
that calming rhythm where it's just beating at such a beautiful and calming pace. It's not
Mhm.
that I'm going to, stress out and
Well, I
beat as
think it's
fast as I
important to
can.
note too, like your story is very impactful and it was very serious. But there's also things that, not to minimize anybody else, with any trauma or stress that anybody else is going through. And I
Right.
think it can have the same effects on you. And just because it's smaller or not as serious doesn't mean it doesn't exist or it's not important.
Mhm.
Um, but let's talk about like some ways that we can calm our emotions so that we can calm our hearts. Tell me about
Yeah.
some of the ones that you used when you were recovering.
Oh my goodness. Well, again, it was finding because dance was such a huge thing for me. So it
Hmm.
was finding what is the movement that I can do to help myself. Um, I found that when I was super anxious, like just making myself go for a walk, get outside, change my scenery, change my environment, just move my body some way, somehow.
Yeah.
Um, and at that moment, like my mom and I were very close. And so it was like, I'll go for a walk with my mom. And that really helped because then she would lead the conversation and steer me in a different direction. And then my mind wasn't so
Stuck in that.
focused
Yeah.
and so stuck. Because that's kind of the thing, the great anxiety can pull you into this cycle of constant why, and you just keep repeating in your
Yeah. You're
head.
just on that hamster wheel that just keeps going around and around and around.
Exactly. And so
Yeah.
it's just finding a way to stop the hamster wheel, to get off
Hmm.
and to move in a different direction. Um, but really, for me, in the back of my head and the voice that I have is always, I don't know, like when I get anxious and I have anxiety, I have the capability of talking to myself. And it is positive talk. It is all positive talk. Like, come on, Yvette, you got this. Let's, you don't
We can
need to
do
go
this.
down this path. You're
Yeah.
gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. Um, I'm a weird one when it comes to pain or to really tough times. I tend to like really hunker down. Like, I don't know if it's like warrior stance or what you want to call it, but I like hunker down, like I'm gonna power through this. And
Hmm.
that's not necessarily a good thing, but for me, that's what works. And I think you really have to look within yourself and find what is going to help you
Hmm.
specifically, because not everyone's is going to be the same. And
Right.
not everyone can do this
The
exact
same
same
thing.
things. And
Hmm.
it's not always going to work in the same way. But yeah, I have this voice in the back of my head that always says, come on, Yvette, you got this. Like, we're
That's
going to do
awesome.
this. And I think that's just because I don't know that the anxiety switch for me just never switches fully on.
Mm.
I have that positive voice and I listen to it.
Yeah.
I allow myself to listen to that voice and I sort of like push everything else away.
Hmm.
And I go, okay, nope, I'm going to concentrate on that.
Right.
And I'm going to go move my body. I'm going to change my scenery. I'm going to take some deep breaths. Sometimes it would, when I felt super anxious, it was taking a shower.
Mm.
I
It
don't
really
know
does.
why.
It's water. Yes.
Mhm. Um,
Hmm.
and we would go to the beach a lot. I had a strong emotional connection to the beach, and it's the sound of the waves.
Yep. And the smell
So
of the salt air.
yes, but it was those waves crashing just over
Hmm.
and over again kind of reminded me of that very calming heartbeat.
Hmm.
And it was almost like, and I think it's funny because you talk about the 20-second hug,
Yes.
connecting and
Mhm.
making your heartbeats kind of become one, like they
Right.
sort of come down with each other
Right.
and sort of beat in
In
sequence with
sync.
each other.
Yeah.
I felt that way with the ocean. Like I would just stand there and just allow myself to listen, like close my
Mhm.
eyes and I would just listen. And it was just this calming. It's almost like the waves were washing over me.
Aw, I love
And
that.
my heart would just start to, I could feel my body relax
Calming
and I
down.
could feel my heartbeat start to come down.
Yeah.
So really like it was just finding those certain ways of what is going to help you specifically.
Yeah. And I
But
like what you said that, everybody's different, that you have that positive voice and your
mhm,
switch doesn't go all the way on. Some of us, it goes on.
yeah,
Like me. So we consider
I
you super
know,
lucky.
I know, because I have a few family members where that switch fully goes on.
Yeah. And I know sometimes it's hard to like get out of um, that like moment of like defeat and anxiety and just like I can't do it and it's crushing me. The weight of the anxiety is just crushing me. Um,
Yeah.
I love the walk. I think any kind of physical activity. I think turn on some music, have a little dance party, move
Yes.
around, go for a swim, go for a ride,
Yeah.
go for a walk, any of that. I think physical activity does wonders for your emotional state, not just your physical state, right?
Oh, yeah.
Um, I
Yeah.
also think simple things like rubbing your hands together and wherever you're feeling the tension, just like placing that heat
Yes.
wherever you feel the tension. But
Yes.
just something to just really stop the train wreck that's happening in your head is basically what
Mhm.
it is. And say,
Mhm.
okay, we're going to focus on the here and now. I'm feeling it in my heart. I'm going to place my arms there. I'm feeling it in my tummy. I'm placing my hands there.
Yes.
Things
Yep.
like that. Closing your eyes and just breathing. We talk about the box breath a lot
Mhm.
and the
Mhm.
20-second hug. But I think there's so many options for people. It's just having that toolbox so that when you do get in those states to say, okay, let me pick out one of my tools to use.
Exactly, and I think that's the thing. Again, it's so super specific to yourself, but just allowing yourself to find those options, to
Mhm.
find what's going to work for you. Like, not every single thing is going to work exactly the same for someone else.
Right.
So it is very specific. But I also have to point out that I also allow myself, please don't get me wrong, allow myself to feel my emotions. So when I was devastated and sad, like I cried.
Right.
Like I had a good
You
long,
didn't bury it. You got to feel it.
yes, yeah, you gotta allow yourself to feel it. And bawled. I bawled for a good, I don't know, a couple of days, I think. I
Yeah.
can't remember, but there were
That's not an
moments
easy
where
thing to hear.
yeah, you have to let those emotions out and you got to allow yourself to feel them. But I think what I don't allow myself to do is to sit in them.
Mhm.
I will let myself process it. I will let myself feel it, but I'm not going to let myself sit in it and
Mhm.
be stuck in it.
Checking it. Mhm.
And I think that's a hard one. That is not an
Oh,
easy
it
thing
is.
to
It's a
do.
very hard one.
Because
It's
it,
taking that's where you say, okay, I feel these emotions, but now I need to take a step back and look at it from a different point of
right,
view
right.
and find the path that I need to go down or how I need to handle this.
Yeah. There's something in me where I hate sitting in that pocket. I really do. I hate sitting in that.
Yeah.
For me, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm devastated pocket. And I'm just like, all right, I'm done with this.
Let's
Moving
move
on.
on.
Like, I'm out of here. And that's hard though. Like I said, that is not everybody. And some people get really sucked into it and get
Yeah.
stuck there. And I think that's why the importance of, your moves of feeling your heart, putting your hands there, taking those box breaths, making yourself
Mhm.
switch to the other side or the other way, or just taking a step forward, as taking a step to the side, taking any kind of step,
Yeah.
as long as it's out of that pocket of sitting in those negative emotions.
Right.
Um, and try a positive thought. It's such a rebellious thing to do,
I
but
know.
try
It
a
works
positive
though.
thought. It does.
It
It
does.
does. And it's so funny because I will tell my loved one that, if you just had one positive thought, and I know you think it's the most stupidest thing, and they think like, okay, whatever, it's not going to work.
Mhm.
But 10 out of 10, it works every
Right.
single time if you start to repeat it over and over and over
Yeah.
again.
It's really, and the hard part is that with our brains, we clamp onto the negative so easily, and
Hmm.
it's so hard for the positives to stick. So we
Yes.
have to say the positive more often than we do the negative. So
Yep.
it is finding that mantra for yourself. It can be as simple as, I'm okay. I'm gonna have a great day. It's
Hmm.
anything. I love myself. I'm going to feel good today. Whatever it is, it's repeating that. But I
Yes.
think it's also, some people might need like a reminder or something. It can be like
Hmm.
a note on your desk or a thing on your phone. I have
Yes.
two little apps. One's called Mantra and one's called I Am. And it comes up with these positive things all day long. And just the looking at it, I don't even have to open it sometimes. It'll like pop up quick read. And it's a positive thought can change your emotions or your mood or the way you're looking at things. One of the great things that I've done with one of my kids is um, to have a list of tools, because when you get stuck in that negative state, it's really hard to say, what tool am I going to use?
Hmm.
And so to have a list to go back to, whether you keep it on your phone or on a piece of paper, and then it becomes a habit. And then you start to remember those positive things and you get into that anxiety mode and say, okay, I'm going to pick one of these tools to use. And you just automatically do it. So I think that there's like, I love the positive mantra, but and also like having a toolbox is all about being prepared for, we know these things are going to happen. We know how we are. How can we help ourselves
Hmm.
overcome them?
And I also think it's the people around you as well.
Hmm.
I had a very lovely support system. Like my family was around me, my mom, my sister, my grandmas at the time, um, who really uplifted me and supported me as much as they could. My friends were amazing. All my poor high school friends were probably like,
What?
you're having
Yeah.
what?" Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But still super supportive. All my dance team girls, just welcome me with open arms. What can we do type thing, tried
Right.
to help me get through that. So I think that's the other thing, is having the right people there to support you,
Hmm.
because that again kind of helps that emotional side of you feel like, okay, you know, they love me.
Yes.
They're here for me. I, I can do this.
I can do this. Yes.
I can do this. So yeah, it's a combination, but
Absolutely.
we all have to build our own toolboxes. Like you said, I love
Hmm.
that. Yes. We all have to build that. And I think it's just a continuous journey of adding tools to that toolbox, because I feel like that's going to change over your
Oh,
lifetime
yes.
as your life changes and you come, into different stages.
Or you learn something new that
You learn
works for
something new.
you.
Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely. I will still dance, like dance is in my blood, but yeah, it's not like it used to be. That's okay. I still allow myself to have dance parties. I found a new way of movement through bar, and I love Pilates as well.
Mhm.
And just, allowing myself to explore
Right.
and to find new ways. So that's kind of the thing. Like I said, I think the whole journey taught me to be more open, because again, I have no control over
Right.
what's going to happen, but I can control how I approach everything, my decisions that I make, and allowing myself to just go through the process.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. I know that's not always an easy thing to do, but I really appreciate you sharing your
I
story and being so open and honest with
appreciate
us.
you.
And thank you guys for listening, and just keep a lookout for our March newsletter. We're going to focus a little bit more on anxiety, I think, in March and see where we go from there. We are also going to have a special guest on our podcast, Lisa from Simply Anxious. If you don't follow her on Instagram, you absolutely should. She's fantastic. So we're going to have a great conversation with her. And then on Saturday, the 18th of March, we're going to do another bar Pilates class. So join us at 8:30 Pacific and 11:30 Central. It came out right this time.
Yay!
And just,
Yes.
keep following us on Instagram. And if y'all have anything you want to hear us talk about, let us know. We want to hear what you have to think, what you have to say.
Definitely. Thank you everyone for joining us. Take care.
Bye.